Yes, sir.
Okay, welcome to the class. Yesterday we are talking about the different instruments of economic incentives vis-a-vis the command and control policies, and we talked about the relative uh, usefulness, or in a sense, advantages and disadvantages of economic incentives instruments vis-a-vis command and control policies. We informed that there are a lot of complications involved in the process of pollution control. Okay, the issue is not very straightforward. So there are a number of issues, the issues concerning space and time, concerning efficiency, concerning uh, ambient differentiated versus emission differentiated regulation. So those things are some of the issues which actually directly influence the pollution control policies. So in today's class, we would like to have a look at those complications, and also to see the impact of space and the issues insofar as efficient generation of pollution in a model. Would like to do that today. So we said that in the case of pollution regulation, the things are very much complicated by and this is made complicated by the physical environment that interposes itself between the polluters and the consumers. And in fact, we try to see that with the help of a diagram. So the diagram is in the next slide. You can have a look into that. So normally, a polluter generates emissions, and these emissions are transformed, possibly in a complex fashion, to ambient concentration of pollution. Yesterday, I talked about that. Actually, the farms or industries normally are responsible for emissions, and these emissions directly do not cause a kind of harm to the society at large. So these emissions will be transformed. In some cases, it might be by the natural process itself, and it might be made less harmful, and there will be kind of ambient concentration of pollution. And these actually emissions cause no damage, but the ambient concentration of pollution that cause the damage. So this is a very important distinction insofar as emission and ambient concentration of pollution is concerned. So ambient concentrations, when you talk about, can be defined as the concentration of pollution. So uh, in the air around us, or maybe in the water that we drink. Uh, Normally, since ambient concentration is the important thing from the point of view of health hazard and other things. So that's why this ambient concentration should be of concern for us when we discuss environmental damages, not the emissions. The regulator is also interested in ambient concentration because that is the source of the damage. But ambient concentrations are imperfectly connected to emissions, and emissions are what farms emit and what needs to be regulated. So there is a bit of complexity out here, which is not normally present in the case of other forms of regulation. For example, if we talk about regulating monopolies, so these type of complexities will not be there. But in the case of environmental regulation, these type of problems are always there. We can have a look at this with the help of a diagram. But before that, let me also tell you about the issue of space. Now, when we talk about space, we are talking about space, physical space only. So in the case of environmental transformation, space plays a very important role. Uh, Normally, sources of pollution nearby generates more damage than sources located in the distant suburbs. For example, if we are more interested in knowing about air pollution in central Delhi, for example, near kind of what will you say, kind of ITU and other places, for example. So then emissions in and around that place might be contributing more to the air pollution than nearby places. Of course, in the case of Delhi, there are some other issues as well. You know about that. The smog from Punjab and Haryana, these are more important, of course. But if you talk about other places, so if you do not take into account Delhi, for example, in that case, so if you take into account Bombay, you can take into account Bangalore. So the areas in which we are more interested in knowing about the pollution, then probably those places or maybe nearer the places, in fact, so will be having more influence on the pollution level than emission level, which are created or maybe generated a little bit away from the area. So, time is also a significant factor in environmental transformation, but the importance of time might be a little bit less than that of space. In some of the cases, we find that you see, sunlight might be important in creating or maybe kind of generating some kind of pollutant or maybe smog kind of a thing. So in that case, it might so happen that maybe mornings and evenings when sunlight will not be available, then generation of this type of smog or maybe kind of pollutants will be much lesser. So in essence, okay, this morning and evening time will be much more healthier compared to the daytime in which sunlight might result in generation of this type of smog. So capturing these type of time, space, all those factors in the decision making insofar as environmental regulation or pollution control is concerned is extremely difficult. So this is what it looks like when you talk about these complications in environmental regulation. So we have this natural environment, so where within this natural environment we have this economic activities in the form of production and consumption. So the production is taking place in the production sector or maybe in the farm or maybe industries. Consumption is happening in the household sector. So they are interrelated, as you know, from production sector, things will be moving to the household sector. And from the household sector, okay, so kind of labor supply will take place. So that way it goes. So environmental regulator may have to play a role in controlling both the producer as well as the consumer. So producers and consumers are the sources of emissions. But as we have already talked about, so emissions may not be directly responsible for kind of health hazards or maybe kind of environmental kind of pollution, or in essence, it may not directly contribute towards reduction in the human welfare, right? So, but the fact is that we'll be more interested in controlling these emitters because so these are relatively easier to identify, and also this is relatively kind of straightforward in a sense to control them. But if we look at the generation of ambient concentration of pollution, we find that from producers or maybe from production activities, some environmental, I mean, whatever that happens actually, so that might undergo some kind of environmental transformation. Same thing is with the consumption activities. So whatever we emit actually, so that might undergo certain transformation. So which might be in the form of transportation. So if it is air, through air, some transportation, some processing might happen, transformation might happen. Similarly, through water, also some decaying, some transformation. So that might happen. So many things might happen, and ultimately there will be kind of deposition. And this leads to the ambient level of pollution. And this ambient level of pollution is directly responsible for environmental damage or maybe damage to the society at large in the form of health and other issues. Consumers and to the ecosystem as a whole. So this is the complications. In most of the cases, normal circumstances will be trying to control the environmental emission, but actually environmental emission might be indirectly linked with the environmental damage, may not be directly linked with the environmental damage. So another issue often we talk about is the efficiency versus cost effectiveness. Now here, actually, there are a number of issues. Although we talk about the efficiency in terms of environmental regulation control, but ideally regulations would target damage and ambient concentration. The regulators or regulations do will be something like to specify a goal of some overall level of emission with no clear connection to ambient concentrations. So efficiency things, although theoretically we say that there should be efficient amount of pollution or maybe pollution concentration. So that may not happen many a time because it is a little bit difficult to achieve. Normally, efficiency calls for emissions that balance the cost of emission control with the damage from ambient pollution, fully taking into account the complexities relating emissions to damage. So as we are saying that emissions are not directly related with the damage, other pollution is related to the damage, but actually kind of there are complexities out there. So that's why kind of achieving efficiency out here may be a little bit tough. Similarly, so this effectiveness, when you talk about efficiency versus cost effectiveness, in case of cost effectiveness with regulation, we try to refer to a set of environmental regulation that can achieve emission target at the least cost possible. So you need to take into account all these things, but cutting things down by looking into this efficiency at the same time, okay, managing or maintaining cost effectiveness might also be very difficult. And third complicated thing regarding environmental regulation is okay, with reference to ambient differentiated versus emission differentiated regulation. Now, we talked about the issue that the targets may be ambient targets or emission targets. Okay. Regulations can apply to polluters based on their emissions or on their contribution to ambient concentration. So it's again a difficult thing. Now, a unit of pollution from one polluter will have a different effect on ambient concentration than a unit of pollution from another polluter. No, it depends actually how we go for this. If we are talking about ambient differentiated concentration of pollution, no? So then we need to focus on, means our unit of focus will be the concentration of pollution out there. But the fact is that okay, different emission, different units of production or maybe consumption will be having kind of different types of emissions, but maybe kind of same level of pollution. Okay, so otherwise we can say that maybe same level of emission might be having different concentration of ambient pollution. So normally an ambient differentiated regulation will control these two polluters differently based on their different contributions to ambient concentration. Again, an emission differentiated regulation will ignore the differences between the two polluters, though the overall level of emissions will still be controlled in such a way as to achieve the ambient target. So the question here is whether we should go for ambient differentiated regulation or emission differentiated regulation. In the case of ambient differentiated regulations, we are talking about kind of pollution level, the concentration of pollution at the point where we are more concerned with the damages to the society or maybe the environment. And in the case of emission differentiated regulation, we are focusing on the differences in emission, and accordingly, strategies are adopted to control emission of a kind of basically emission of from different sources of pollution. So these are kind of tricky things. It will not be easy, and since emission differentiated regulation are considered to be relatively easier to implement, so that is why mostly we target for the sources of emission, not the ambient sources of pollution level. So these are some of the basic issues in environmental regulation. So there is a debate over whether command and control or economic incentives instruments are to be taken. The issues regarding public sources of pollution and the ways to control them. Now, the information is very important. You might require a lot of information insofar as pollution control is concerned, particularly in case of command and control. Risk and how to deal with the problems of risk. What sort of regulations are appropriate? Growing competition between jurisdictions vis-a-vis environmental regulations. Incidence of regulations. Who bear the burden, either in cost or pollution damage, or who reaps the benefits. Innovations, technical change, so this might be some other issues which can be talked about. The issues or maybe complexities in the form of environmental regulation or pollution control. When you say environmental regulation, in many cases we talk about pollution regulation or pollution control. So these are broader issues which actually might have implications for the society at large and may have to be taken into consideration while framing policies for environmental regulation or pollution control. Having said this, we can always take up certain models or maybe examples insofar as the problems created by spaces and times in environmental regulation or pollution control. So I'll go to that. I'll be sharing with you a PDF file for that. Just give me a minute. So the complications in pollution control, so with reference to space, can be discussed with the help of a specific example. So wherein we have brought in the issues of sources, receptors, and transfer coefficient. These are actually some of the concepts which are used. Actually, in the case of environmental regulation or pollution control, there are a number of issues that, as we have actually pointed out, space is one important issue over here, and in this case, actually, we need to find out how spaces can complicate the environmental regulation process. At the simplest level, what we have tried to do is to assume about a river with two factories, so which are discharging organic waste into the river, that is in the upstream, and a municipal water supply taking water out of the river in the downstream. Okay, so actually, so when you talk about river, there might be a lot of uses of river water. So here we are talking about only one particular use of river water in the form of drinking water, but there might be other issues like fishing, there might be swimming, there might be other ecosystem services which might be of importance for the society at large, which we are not taking into account as of now. So here we are talking about two things. One thing is that there is a factory which is carrying out certain economic activities in the form of production, and at the same time the waste, organic waste which might have come out along with the production process, these are discharged into the river. So we have found one point where municipality has been collecting water for drinking water purpose. So here we try to incorporate two things. One is the concept of source, and the other is the concept of receptor. Here, the source is the point at which the pollution is discharged. In this particular case, we talk about the industry or maybe the factory which is discharging waste into the river, and that is the source of the pollution. Okay. Secondly, so we are concerned with the impact of the discharge of the waste is into the river at the point where the water is collected by the municipality. So that is the point which is of importance to us, and that is known as the point of receptor. So receptor is a point at which we care about the level of ambient pollution. One more thing, although we are talking about the factory, actually, so we are talking about two factories in the upstream. Now, when the waste is discharged into the river, as has been already pointed out many a time, there will be some kind of transformation of the waste, okay, because water will be acting on it. As the river flows, in a sense, the river will be able to clean itself to some extent. As the river flows, bacteria will walk on organic material that the factories have discharged into the river water. So the further one goes downstream, the smaller the effects from the pollution. So this is good for the environment. but unfortunately, it complicates our analysis. To correctly regulate the two factories, we must take into consideration their individual effects on the municipality. So that is what is complicated for our analysis. So here, of course, in the analysis, each factory is considered to be a source, and the receptor, as we have already decided, is the point at which we care about the ambient pollution level. Uh, Of course, you see, so this is only the simplified form of the model. So where we are talking about only one receptor, but actually there might be many receptors. So where we have to we have to talk about the pollution, ambient pollution level, and its impact on the health of the society at large. But that is not possible as of now. We are trying to identify only one receptor and see so how the pollution out of the emission can be related with each other. So that is our issue out here. Typically, the receptors are scattered over space and serve as good proxies for the overall level of pollution. So generally speaking, there is some kind of relationship between the emissions at various sources. For example, if we talk about I as the number of sources, then there might be through these many sources, E1, E2 up to EI as the sources. And concentration of pollution at any receptor we can consider. For example, J might be the point at which we are interested. So that is J is the receptor, for example, and this I's, for example, I's will be the sources of the pollution level. So we try to find out that relationship and kind of linear relationship we are considering. So in which case we consider this Pj, so which is the concentration of pollution at any receptor. So that Pj is a function of the emissions at different sources plus Bj, where Bj is the background pollution level at receptor J. Basically, it means that already there is some kind of pollution level, and additionally, we are having kind of pollution which are coming out of the emissions taking place at different sources in the form of EI, E1 to up to EI. Okay, so it's something like this. So here, as we pointed out, so the relationships, physical environment is considered to be having a linear relationships. In many environmental problems, we assume like that. So if we do that, we can actually write the relationship between the ambient concentration of pollution and the emissions in the form of equation 2, which is the summation of Aij Ei plus Bj. We are actually bringing in one concept which is Aij, which is known as the transfer coefficient. And this is defined as delta Pj by delta Ei. So it basically means the change in the pollution level, so as a result of 1 unit change in the emission level. Okay. So if we change emissions at some source I by a little, then pollution will change by Aij multiplied by delta Ei. That is what we are talking about out here. So that way, in fact, we can define the transfer coefficient. Transfer coefficient is something like this. If we assume a change in the emission from source I, suppose delta Ei, so that results in a change in pollution at receptor J, delta Pj. The transfer coefficient between the source I and the receptor J is defined as the ratio of the change in pollution, J means delta Pj, to the change in emission at I, which is delta Ei. Okay, so Aij is equivalent to delta Pj by delta Ei. Now, normally, so if we are talking about a particular situation, no, so this Bj is considered to be 0. That means there is no background pollution. So whatever we are talking about is the pollution coming out of this emission sources, or maybe from the different sources that we are talking about. So that way, in fact, we try to negate the impact of this background pollution out here, right? So the concept of transfer coefficient is useful only when the relationship between emissions and pollution is linear. Of course, we make the linearity assumption in our analysis. So this equation 9.3, basically not 9.3, here it will be equation 3. Aij is equal to delta Pj by delta Ei. So that basically gives us the conversion rate, in essence, conversion from emission to ambient concentration. For example, if Aij is equal to 5, so that basically means that every unit of emissions at source I will be yielding 5 units of ambient pollution at the receptor, which is J, right? So that way it goes. We try to build up a relationship between emission level and the ambient concentration of pollution level. The next thing, once we have this relationship, we try to find out how much pollution do you want? Basically, the efficient amount of pollution that we are interested in, that we would like to see. What are the conditions which will give us that kind of efficient amount of pollution? So normally, when you talk about efficiency, so this efficiency involves equating marginal damage with the marginal savings to the farm from pollution generation. So marginal savings, in essence, yesterday we tried to define it. Marginal savings can also be considered to be the marginal control cost. And in fact, this marginal control cost should be equivalent to the marginal damage from pollution. So the point at which these two values are equal, that will tell us so how much of pollution should be generated in the system. That's correct. So when you talk about this efficiency or efficient amount of pollution generation, then obviously this marginal savings function maybe from X star, where X star is the pollution, should be equivalent to marginal damage function from X star. Okay. But here one issue is there. When you talk about marginal savings, this marginal savings or cost, whatever that may be, so that is related with the emission. Okay, so because so emission will have to be controlled, in essence, in a control cost, or otherwise when emission is generated, so how much of cost is there, so that will lead to marginal cost, and the opposite of marginal cost is the marginal savings. So this marginal savings is linked with the emissions, whereas marginal damage is associated with the ambient pollution. So obviously when we are talking about equation between these two or equality between these two, we need to try to link these two. Okay, so maybe we have to convert either a farm's marginal savings function to marginal savings per unit of ambient pollution, or express marginal damages as marginal damage per unit of emission. So either emission in terms of pollution, or emission means, in fact, we can say marginal savings in terms of ambient pollution, or marginal damages in terms of per unit of emissions. That we need to do, only then we can link it, right? So we must convert a farm's marginal savings function to marginal savings per unit of ambient pollution, or express marginal damages as marginal damages per unit of emissions. We try to take the second course. In that case, we try to express marginal damage function as marginal damages per unit of emissions. Okay. Now that is written as marginal damages from emission. So within bracket, this is small ei, and marginal damage per unit of ambient pollution is given as written as MDP. Now this marginal damages per unit of emission is the ratio of change in damages to the change in emission at source I. So since we are trying to link both these things, now damages from ambient pollution is linked with the emission level. So it is marginal damages from emission can be defined as the ratio of the change in damages. Damages here is dP basically, to the change in emissions at source I. So it will be something like this. Damages P plus delta P, where originally pollution was P, then 1 unit has, maybe there is some change in the pollution level, that is delta P minus dP. So it's like the differentiation formula that we know, all of us know, divided by delta EI, since we are trying to see this as linked with the emission level. So you can further kind of simplify this. You'll get the value to be something like this: dP plus delta P minus dP divided by delta P multiplied by delta P into delta E, divided by delta EI. Now this delta P divided by delta EI, so that is nothing but the kind of transfer coefficient, as you can see from equation number 3. So that way, what you can write is that this marginal damage is per unit of emission will be nothing but AI multiplied by MD into P, right? Since we are trying to equate it with damages with the emission level, so that's why we are saying this to be AI, not AIJ. So, so this is the relationship. In essence, MDE is equivalent to AI MDP. Okay. So for efficiency, because we are more interested in efficient amount of pollution, right? For efficiency, we need to have equality between marginal savings from emissions with the marginal damage. And this must apply to all sources from the equimarginal principle. So if we assume that there are I sources, small I going from 1 to capital I, then the condition for efficiency will be the marginal savings function from the emission should be equivalent to marginal damage function from emission. So that way, MSEI is equivalent to MDE small ei. And as we have already found that MDE EI is equivalent to AI MDP from equation number 4, we can put it here. So MDE EI is equivalent to AI MDP for all I, for all sources of emissions, which are 1 to I, capital I. Or in essence, we can say that this is MSEI is nothing but minus MCEI, that is equivalent to AI MDP. Okay, so in essence, in fact, we have two sets of equations or conditions over here. So this equation 5 will be actually applicable for I sets of equations, set of I equations, because it's corresponding to the number of sources of emissions. So if we have two sources, we can convert it into two equations. Means in fact, we can have it in terms of these two sources. If there are I sources, then we'll be having a set of I equations. Now, for any two sources, for example, M and N, we can convert these sets of equations into something like this. MCM is equivalent to MCN is equivalent to this transfer coefficient multiplied by the marginal damage from the pollution level, which can be further simplified as the equation in which we are trying to kind of divide or maybe divide this marginal cost by the control transfer coefficient. So we have MCM EM divided by AM is equal to MCN EN divided by N, which is equivalent to minus MDP, which is question number 6. Okay. Here, this actually what we have found is the marginal cost in terms of ambient pollution pollution should be equal to the negative of the marginal damage. Okay. So in other words, we can say that efficiency calls for all sources to have the same marginal cost of emission normalized by the sources transfer coefficient. So that is what the condition is. This MC by A can be interpreted as the marginal cost per unit of ambient pollution. Okay. So this is the condition. This is the equation. Actually, there are two sets of equations. First one is that the marginal control cost across different sources should be equal. And secondly, the marginal control cost normalized by the transfer coefficient should be equivalent to the marginal damage at the receptor. So this is the efficiency insofar as this kind of how much pollution we want. Basically, so when you talk about efficient amount of pollution, these two conditions should prevail, right? Any question till this point? Next, we try to bring in what will happen regarding this emission fees. What will be emission fees at the efficient level? what will be maybe kind of marketable permits at the efficient level. So today, let's see what will happen to the pollution fees. So what we have found is that the condition for generating efficient amount of pollution is given as the ratio between the marginal cost and transfer coefficient should be equal across different sources, and that value should be equivalent to the negative of the marginal damage functions from ambient pollution. Now, if that is the efficiency or efficient level of pollution, now to ensure that efficient amount of pollution, because we are interested in efficient amount of pollution, we cannot reduce or remove pollution. Pollution will be there. Economic activities have to be there. So pollution will always take place. So in that case, so we will be concerned with the efficient amount of pollution or optimal amount of pollution. Now, for ensuring that efficiency or maybe to yield efficiency, how much of emission fee should be structured? So that is the question out here, because we are talking about pollution control. So this pollution control will be ensured by way of either marketable permits or by way of Pigouvian fee. So today we are trying to see, so what will be the emission fees? So here we'll seek emission fee, for example, TI, one for each farm I, because we are talking about the sources and we'll try to control the sources, although we are interested in the pollution in the receptor, basically, so where the pollution is of concern to all of us. So we'll try to charge an emission fee which is equivalent to TI, one for each farm I, that will yield efficiency. Now, whatever fee is used, the farms will respond by minimizing direct cost plus the fees payment. Okay, so the farm will always have to try to go for minimization of cost. And this cost will involve two things. One is the direct cost in the process of production, and the second one is the kind of fees that they have to pay. So they will try to reduce the total cost, overall total cost. So this is equivalent to setting marginal cost equal to the negative of the fees. Okay, so in essence, this fees is nothing but a kind of price for them. So they will try to equate this marginal cost with the price or maybe the fee that they have to pay. In essence, the price is also a cost for them. But if we are talking about this mentioned fact fee is a cost for them. So if we consider this to be a price for them, so the cost, marginal cost is already there. Then we consider this to be a negative of pollution fee or emission fee. So that is minus TI. So this should be the condition, right? MC, marginal cost of emission per unit of sources, per unit of emission of sources should be equivalent to the negative of the emission fee for the source. So if the source is for all sources I, where I is the generalized term out here, so that will give us the kind of efficiency out here, or efficient amount of, or efficient level of pollution fee. So for in general, actually that can be reconstructed, and that can be written as Tn by An being equivalent to Tm by An. Tn by An being equivalent to Tm by An. There are, for example, there are two sources. Only we are talking about, suppose farms N and M. So in that case, this, since you see, so already we have found that for efficiency, the marginal cost should be equivalent to marginal cost normalized by the transfer coefficient should be equivalent to the marginal damage function, and across different sources, this marginal cost should be equal. So if we go by that, this marginal cost is, since from equation number 7, we know that marginal cost is equivalent to the negative of the pollution fee. So instead of marginal cost, we can write the pollution fees. Since there are two sources we are talking about, N and M. So the pollution fee will be Tn corresponding to marginal cost at N source, and similarly for the other source at M, for factory M, the pollution fee will be equivalent to Tm. So borrowing from that equation where MC normalized by the transfer coefficient should be equal across different sources, and that should be equivalent to the damage function. amount of pollution fee to be something like equation number 8 and 9. Equation 8 says that the pollution fee normalized by the transfer coefficient should be equal across the sources of pollution. So here pollution means basically emission we are talking about. So two sources we are considering as N and M. So Tn by An should be equivalent to Tm by Am. And secondly, the pollution fee at the sources should be equivalent to the marginal damage function corresponding to the ambient concentration of pollution multiplied by the transfer coefficient. So Tn is equal to An mdp. Similarly, Tm is equal to Am mdp for any farm. Okay. So thus emission fees levied on the farm must be equal after normalized by the transfer coefficient. Or in essence, you can say that control costs across the farms are equal. So this equation number 9 says that for any farm, marginal damage in emission units must be equal to the emission fees. So this is also similar to saying that equality of marginal pollution damage and control costs. So that way, in fact, we have two different conditions for pollution. It's efficient amount of pollution fee, so which are given by equation number 8 and 9. There are some alternative interpretation also. All the farms face the same emission fee per unit of ambient pollution, but to convert it to emission units, it must be multiplied by the appropriate transfer coefficient. The same pollution fee, for example, Pn, okay, to convert it into, so you have to multiply it by the transfer coefficient. So, so what we can say from here is that there are issues actually. Ambient differentiated emission fees can achieve efficiency, no doubt, but sometimes it is too complicated to let emission fees vary from location to location. Sometimes there may be too much uncertainty about the level of transfer coefficient, or it may be considered unfair to levy different fees on different farms. Most of the emission fees do not depend on location, but the damages depend on location. So in that case, how inefficient is applying a uniform emission fee when damages depend on location? Because you see, so when we are talking about emission fee, we are trying to control the sources. So emissions fee will be probably okay based on their marginal cost. So in essence, the fact is that the emissions will not depend on the locations, but ultimately the ambient concentration of pollution will depend on the location. So in that case, whether we should think about kind of imposing only a uniform fee level for different sources. So that is the question out here. And actually that can be seen with the help of certain example or maybe certain diagram. So let me see whether that is possible for me to show or not. If it is possible, we'll try to go to that. Just a minute, a few diagrams should be there. So there are two diagrams here, actually, two figures are there which you can look into. So efficient taxes are given as T1, T2, and E1 star, E2 star are considered to be emissions for the two farms. So you see the diagram. This is one diagram. Of course, it's not very clearly coming. Depending upon the damage function and savings function, actually, we are having kind of, you see, for farm 1, the fee is given as T1 star. For farm 2, this is T2 star. That way, in fact, we can say that depending upon the marginal damages, the pollution fee level can be different. So here, actually, so if we go for uniform imposition of uniform fee, suppose T cap, okay, so that might create a little bit of issues out there. If emission is given as E cap out here, whereas individual emission levels will be different, E1 star or E2 star, so these are the efficient level. But when we go for E cap as the emission, and corresponding to that, if we go for kind of uniform emission fee, suppose T cap, so that may not be the correct thing to do here, since the difference is a little bit large. But if the difference is not that large, of course we can go for kind of uniform kind of imposition of the kind of fee. For example, T cap here. So if we go for T cap as the uniform fee, so in that case here, the difference between the E1 star and E2 star may not be very large compared to the previous situation. In the case of previous situation, there is a kind of considerable difference between these two levels of emission, whereas that is not the case in the case of this diagram, this situation. So so that is why actually we need to look into that. So whether we should go for kind of uniform imposition of uniform amount of or maybe kind of a level of fee which is uniform across different sources, that needs to be looked into. So from practical point of view, although we go for kind of a particular fee, but actually that may not be very efficient from the point of view of overall societal welfare. So that is one issue which we are trying to portray out here. But from the point of view of efficiency, as we have seen, so we need to go for kind of policies or maybe pollution fees which will be associated with the emissions and depending upon the volume of emission actually. So we need to try to have kind of pollution fee defined like that. So that is what we can talk about regarding the efficient amount of pollution fee. Similarly, we can also have kind of marketable permits for this type of problematic situation where a space is playing a role, and would like to see that maybe in the next week, and also after a few more classes probably we can wrap up this pollution control unit. Maybe a few more things will be there. After that we can wrap it up. Okay, so this thing probably I'll be repeating once more in the next class regarding this particular issue, but otherwise this efficient amount of pollution fee and how much of pollution we want, so those type of things. So we tried to have a look at. Basically, we tried to see that controlling pollution is not a straightforward thing. So there are a lot of issues out there which needs to be looked into. Space is one big issue. Time is another big issue. Similarly, so we should take a decision whether we should go for ambient differentiated pollution control or whether we go for emission differentiated pollution control. Efficiency, cost effectiveness, those things are certain issues, no doubt. But getting all those things into consideration or taking all those things into consideration may not be so easy and fair. So, but technically, if we can do that, that is always the best. But from the point of view of practicality, that may not always be correct. So we tried to see so how to respond to these situations when there are certain complications in the form of spaces playing a role insofar as having a kind of reduced impact of emissions at the receptor level. We tried to see it with the help of an example as well by taking the case of certain factories and a receptor where we try to see the impact of emission in the form of ambient concentration of pollution. Okay, if you have any issue, any question, kindly raise. Otherwise, you can stop here.